so weird you knock on the door. It's Jesse Ventura. Yeah, Lord Ventura. Look, it's Jesse Ventura. Have a good day. Jesse, at breakfast you were talking about people voting for who they think is going to win and how that destroys the political process.
Well, what I mean by that is far too many people, in my opinion, today view voting like they would going out to the racetrack, out to the horse races, where they think they need to go out there and pick a winner, and that isn't what it's about. It's, in my opinion, anyway, just my opinion, I think you go out and pick the actual person, vote for someone, not against someone. You know, pick out the actual person who you most would like to have do the job, and then vote for that person. And even if that person finishes fifth, at least then you voted your heart and you voted your conscience, which is not wasting a vote. If you just go out there and you want to go along to get along, and you want to be able to say when it's all over, oh yeah, whoever won, I voted for that person, to try to make yourself mainstream and all that, well, in my opinion then you are wasting your vote. You know, a wasted vote is not voting your heart and not voting your conscience.
Now it seems like people go for who they do think is going to be the winner, just mindlessly, like they've bet on the football team that's already
that they
won.
think is going to win. I mean, if Texas is going to play Rice, you kind of figure you'll bet on Texas. You know, that would seem like a pretty solid bet. No offense against Rice, but Texas traditionally has won probably the great deal more games in the head-to-head competition, so it would be a safe bet. But again, voting should not be like gambling. You know, it's that simple.
How do you think that changed? Because studying past elections, people tended to more vote for who they thought had the right policies according to...
I think it's changed just simply in our psyche. We like to be aligned with winners. It's a kind of a subconscious thing. You like to think that you're a winner, and which is good. People should have that positive attitude. But they also need to, realize that's not the way it should be in voting. That voting should be voting for the person who you think is best qualified to do the job, regardless of whether the majority of the people agree with you or not.
But I think what you've said is absolutely key. I mean, it is at the base of the political crisis in this country, and I think it's the mainstream media, the dominant media culture in the last 50 years, getting away from people just reading newspapers and actually knowing about the facts, but going with the kind of celebrity, idea of how a politician looks.
Well, it's also, when you speak mainstream media, to me, it's that no one else counts except the Democrats and Republicans, because that's all the mainstream media will ever give credit to. And when things are done that are so atrocious, to include a third candidate, the mainstream media sits by and lets it happen. I mean, the biggest case in point was 1992 when Ross Perot got 19.7% of the vote, 1 out of 5, roughly 20%. My old physics teacher would tell me to round up, as you always do in physics, so he got 20%. Well, what happened then, and the mainstream media never even covered it. They didn't even expose what went on in our country. Perot scared the status quo so badly in that election that all the way up until that point, all the debates, presidential debates, had fallen under the National League of Women Voters, which you can argue is essentially a fairly neutral group. They have conservative women, liberal women, independent women, whatever it might be.
And they would allow other third-party candidates in.
No, they just determined how the debates, they were in charge.
Yeah.
Well, what happened then, because Perot scared them so bad in 92, our illustrious Congress took the debates away from the National League of Women. They formed another federal bureaucracy now called the National Debate Committee. And ironically, that committee is appointed, and it's headed by the former heads of the Democratic and Republican parties. So now all debates are channeled through this National Debate Committee, and they can make up the rules as they go. Now, here's what happened. We all remember in 96 when Perot was not allowed to debate. Well, that was a decision made by Bob Dole and Bill Clinton.
So it's a two-party dictatorship.
Yeah. Bob Dole didn't want Perot in the 96 debates. Now, bear in mind, Perot got millions of our tax dollars that he qualified for. He got 1 out of 5 votes the election before. That should immediately qualify him to be in the debates. Mm-hmm. But yet, Dole didn't want Perot in the debates because he felt it would erode from his conservative base. Clinton didn't want debates at all because he was so far ahead that debates could only bring him down. They weren't going to get him any farther ahead. So those two guys cut a deal that Dole said gave Clinton the ability to say how many debates there'd be and when they would be if Clinton agreed to eliminate Perot. Mm-hmm. So they cut a deal, took it to the National Debate Commission, who rubber stamped it, Perot out.
And now that precedent is set.
Yeah. Now they determine who gets to debate and who doesn't.
So you support, and in fact you spoke at one of Ralph Nader's events, didn't you, calling for opening up the debate process?
Oh, absolutely. To me, every presidential debate should have at least 4 to 5 people up there.
Well, that's obvious. I mean, how can we ever have real choice if they only keep it to the two parties?
Well, but see, that's it. Just Ralph Nader called it the two-party dictatorship. You know, they're in charge. They create the... Imagine, okay, we talked football, and we all know how great Longhorn football is down here in Texas. Imagine if every time the Longhorns played an opponent, the opponent had the ability to change the rules at the half.
It'd be unbelievable.
Yeah.
So you're saying it's a rigged game?
Yeah. It's rigged for the two-party system. No one else is let in, and the sad part is we the people stand by. It's our fault. It's our fault because we stand by and sit on our hands and allow it to happen. The more you hold government's feet to the fire and the more you have an involved citizenry that does that, you will get better government. If you take the go along to get along attitude and you don't hold their feet to the fire, you don't dissent, you're going to get bad government because that's just how it works. When the people don't pay attention, the government will go bad. When the people do pay attention, the government will be better.